It is Monday, September 22nd, 2025. This is another edition of Baseball Today presented to you by Mountain Dew. Looking for a refreshing citrusy kick this summer? Go grab yourself a Mountain Dew. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer today, and intern Sawyer along for the ride as well. Boy, did we have fun out east for our final franchise tournament event of the year. Blitzball Battle 7 brought the lovely queen of dugout discussions, Michelle Rose, with me. She loves hanging out with the Baseball Today crew. I can just tell you that.
It was great to see her. Always great to see you, obviously, as well. We had a nice little dinner together. Me, you, Michelle Rose, Peter Moylan out as well. But yeah, a fun time in the warehouse as always. Wrapped up the Warehouse Cup. So we're done with the warehouse this year. I'm already looking forward to next year.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams out there training. There's the picture of the Baseball Today crew. I even let Dan Rourke meet the queen in person.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's a cute photo. Cute photo of everybody. Had a good time. Good time. We have not had the show in quite some time because, well, we haven't been together in over a week, right? We were traveling, and then we had, Blitzball Battle 7, so we couldn't do the show then. There was a little scheduling issue, so we got a lot to cover. Let's start with a tip of the cap and a milestone for Mikey.
Trout swings, and that one's going to go! He did it! He did it! Number 400 for Mike Trout! Another entry on the already complete Hall of Fame resume for one of the greatest players in the history of the sport.
Yeah, it took a while. It's been a trying season, but he clubbed it 485 feet. I thought the coolest part of this was the guy who caught the ball. He gave it back to Trout, and he said, hey, listen, do we have time to play catch? So after the game in Colorado, there's Mike Trout out there. By the way, Trout did look for a glove to play catch. He's not just playing barehanded. He was giving it every effort in the world.
No, this is so cool. And the guy's family's down there. I mean, you go to a random Rockies game in September, you end up catching Mike Trout's 400th homer. That's pretty special, man.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Now let's get to the good stuff. Under a week to go, and still there's a lot of unsettled business, but we're going to start out in the American League West, where the Mariners and the Astros came in to the weekend series down in Texas, tied for the lead, and one team left up 3 games because there was a dude who just continued to go crazy. Cal Raleigh continues to crush it. He hit 2 more homers, giving him 58 on the year. That, of course, is obviously the most ever by a catcher. Most ever by a switch hitter when he passed Mickey Mantle. Most ever by a Mariner when he passed Ken Griffey Jr. Seattle with the sweep. But how about this? The huge win on Saturday night.
Fly ball, gap, right center field.
Double him up at second.
Victor Robles makes the catch.
Yes.
And that is the ball game.
Yeah, it was. We were on the plane ride home. I was like, did you see the catch by Robles to end this one? I was watching up in 35,000 feet in the air. So the lead is 3. Seattle also won the season series. How surprised are you that Seattle put a whooping on them?
I don't know if I'm super surprised. I mean, look, the Astros, they came off a sweep of their own against Texas, but overall, over the last couple months, they've kind of been a 500 team. We know all the stuff that they've been going on in the clubhouse, and I feel like Seattle's the other way, where they're surging as far as wins and losses, but I feel like they're closer than ever in that clubhouse. And really, if you look at the series now, did it get close right there in the clip that we showed? Yeah, 6-4. Jake Myers on second base. They're great, but the Astros never even led in the series. They were 2 for 21 with runners in scoring position. And you mentioned, Seattle's got Cal doing historic things in Seattle like that. I don't know, man. I felt like these 2 teams are just going in opposite directions right now. So the end result, maybe the sweep surprised me a little bit. But it seemed to me like Seattle was going to win that series, and they did.
I feel like it's coming together for Seattle. And a few weeks ago, we asked who we thought was going to win this one. And I've told you even a couple months ago, right after Ichiro's Hall of Fame speech, and then he went back to Seattle where they retired the joint number 51 number between he and Big Unit. And he looked at that team and he said, I believe in you. Like, I've got your back. It just felt like something special was going to happen with this team. And that's exactly what has transpired here. Seattle has stepped on the accelerator. Their guys, although Eugenio Suarez has a sub 700 OPS since he got traded back to Seattle from Arizona, he hit a mammoth homer. Josh Naylor hit a homer. He's been stealing bags. He has almost as many homers in half as many games with Seattle as he did with Arizona. So it feels like every button that Jerry DiPoto pushed this year at the trade deadline has seemingly worked for this team. They are together. Their stars were stars when they needed it. Yordan Alvarez, unfortunately, the ankle has taken him out of action. When they needed a huge game from Framber Valdez, he was nowhere to be found. So Seattle stars are doing it, and Houston is just kind of limping to the finish line.
Yeah, I mean, and they're still in it too.
Yeah, they are.
They're right there. I just don't think right now the momentum is on their side whatsoever. But you can say that about another team we're probably going to get into shortly.
Yeah. With the Mariners, one last point. They started 6 guys on Sunday in their lineup with an OPS over 800. When there's a lot of teams, some that are even trying to make the playoffs, that are struggling to get guys with an OPS over 700, the Mariners are just mashing and they are getting it done. One other cool thing, though, I do want to point out from this. When Cal Raleigh set the Mariners record, he hit the ball, I believe, into Houston's bullpen. And their bullpen Javier Bracamonte, I believe is his name. We've seen him before over the years. Look at this. Classy gesture. He gave Cal Raleigh the baseball after a tough loss. I thought that was a really cool moment.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that's kind of the gig there. I wonder if he asked for anything like, hey, like, I'm going to give this to you right now, but then when we get down there, can you give me like a bat or something?
Signed jersey.
I bet Cal probably sent something over.
I would imagine. I thought.
Hey, by the way, Seattle now, not only are they in first place in the division, they
Yep.
get the bye.
Yeah, they do. They do. That could be a big deal for them too, even though they have the pitching depth, I think, to breeze through a wild card scenario. As for the Astros, they really have to just worry about making the playoffs, because do you see what a team from Northeast Ohio's been doing?
Now the 1-0. Swung on, pounded, high, deep to right center, off the facing of the second deck. Oh, what a bomb by Bo Naylor.
Yeah, he had a couple of bombs in one of those doubleheader Saturday wins over the Minnesota Twins. Twins did get him, snapped Cleveland's 10-game winning streak on Sunday, but currently Cleveland holds the third and final wild card. They are just 1 game back of Detroit in the American League Central. Those two will tango in Cleveland, 3-game sets starting on Tuesday. How shocking is Cleveland's arrival?
I mean, it's the most shocking that it can get, Chris. I mean, 15.5 back on July 8th. And still, like, okay, well, what's going right for this team? They must be banging the ball around the park. Like, no, they're not really. Not really, dude. Like, they got Jose Ramirez doing it. And then, like I always tell you, like, this is a team that just gets the job done. Like, it's one way or the other. They don't have to score a ton of runs. They're still, like, 30th in average, 29th in OPS, 27th in runs. Like, it's so bad. But the pitching's been amazing, dude. And the resiliency has been amazing. 24 games in 24 days, and you go out and put a record like they did. I mean, it just says something about the guys they have in the clubhouse. I think you have to mention Stephen Vogt when you're talking about this team, keeping the guys in it and just saying, keep going to work, keep going to work, keep going to work. That's what they've done, man. But, you know, you're looking up at like this series coming up against Detroit, all right? Schoolboy's going game 1, but you got Gavin Williams matching up against him, and Gavin Williams has been amazing. Does he still walk a ton of people? Sure, but like he's turning into a premier pitcher in the league. If he has a good outing, I think he'll have a sub-3 on the year. And they've had guys like Parker Messick step up, and they've just found ways to do it. But yeah, I mean, it's been absolutely shocking. I know I can't ever tell if you're being serious about not believing in your team, or that's just the way that you don't want to jinx it or something. But I'm obviously shocked about it.
It's a defense mechanism. So let's go back to earlier this year when I said the Tigers were going to run away with the division.
You did.
And I honestly believe that, because I didn't think that any Central team had the ability or the personnel to do it. Then you go back to the beginning of July when you mentioned that Tigers had a 15.5 game lead. Cleveland loses Ortiz on the gambling allegations. Less than a month later, they lose one of the best closers in the game. Same allegations. They don't make any significant moves. In fact, they subtract from their team. Shane Bieber, who was on the precipice of coming back, gets traded to Toronto in a deal that certainly made sense, but at the time they needed pitching help. Everything was against them. They weren't a great team anyway. Hitting-wise, they have 3 everyday major leaguers in their lineup. A future Hall of Famer in Jose Ramirez, an all-star in Stephen Kwan, and Kyle Manzardo. The rest of the guys you could make an argument are kind of bit players or platoon players at best. I have no idea how they consistently win games, with the exception that their pitching is able to shove. And even with that, they've gone to this 6-man rotation, and I think a lot of hardcore baseball fans would even be pressed into being able to really recognize the back 3 of their rotation. Somehow their bullpen has gotten it done. Cade Smith is an uber-effective reliever. Hunter Gaddis is a guy that they've been able to rely on. But with the exception of that, it's been Sabrowski. It's been Festa. It's been guys that have either bounced around the league a little bit or have bounced back from injuries. I have no fucking idea how we're actually in this thing. Josh, my oldest son, yelled at me. You heard it on the phone when we were sitting there at the airport. He said to you, my dad can't enjoy this run.
I know.
And he's 100% right. And I don't know why this is. I don't know if it's because Cleveland sports fans are 90% scar tissue. I don't know if it's because it's a built-in self-defense mechanism. I have to be able to enjoy this because the playoffs actually start tomorrow in Cleveland, Ohio. They don't start next Tuesday around the league. They start tomorrow in Cleveland, Ohio. I should be able to enjoy it, and I should be able to pour 100% of my rooting energy into a team that has literally put a hand out from being buried underneath, crawled out like it's a horror flick, and said, I am back.
Chris, I love you. I hope that you can gain confidence in your team one day. But if you can't enjoy 28 runs given up in their last 18 freaking games, they're giving up 1.5 runs per game over their last 18. I believe they're 16-2. And they better fucking be if you give up 1.5 runs per game. Even that offense should be able to score 2 runs per game. It's been an incredible run, man. You mentioned the staff, and that's basically all credit needs to go to them. A little bit of the defense as well. But, man, it's surely been something to watch.
All right, so up next for the Guardians, they're hosting the Tigers. We'll have more on that on tomorrow's show. Very quickly, on Detroit's side of things, they get swept at home by the Atlanta Braves. They have dropped 9 of their last 10. Here's A.J. Hinch.
Difficult to accept, difficult to explain, and it's hard, trying to put into words, kind of what is going on.
That came after Saturday's tough loss at home where they had a 2-run lead late in the game and they couldn't hang on to it against hard-charging Atlanta, which has actually played pretty well here over the last couple of weeks. Give me just 30 seconds on this. What's going on with Detroit?
I think the trade deadline sucked for them. I think that's a huge factor. And you can say, oh, the prices were so high. Who cares, man?
Yeah,
you have it. You do, whether you want to admit it or not. You have a Tarek Skubal window. I don't think he's going to sign back there. I don't think you're going to pay him. So you need to go out and do something. And Finnegan's been a good reliever for you, and that's about all I can say. Right? Charlie Morton got DFA'd. Chris Paddock hasn't been effective. We knew from the get-go they needed starting pitching. We knew from the get-go. And this offense, although they came out pretty hot at the beginning and some guys have sustained a level of success this year, we knew they needed additions there as well. And they just didn't really do anything. So now when Riley Green is slumping and Gary Carpenter slumping and your pitching staff has a 5.32 in September and you're not scoring runs, like this is what happens. I mean, they were resting on their laurels at the trade deadline. They should have been pushing forward, man. There were guys available. They could look. I know Suarez hasn't been great for Seattle necessarily, but they could have went and had him. They should have went and tried to get Alex Bregman at the beginning of the year. There's just a bunch of moves they could have made, and they just kind of balked at all of that, saying, "Hey, we're good," and AJ Hinch is going to figure it all out. Well, no, he's not, dude. So even if they get into the playoffs now, Chris, even if they still have a pretty good chance of doing it. even if they get into the playoffs, like, how are you going to feel about their chances?
Not great. I mean, you're going
And
to
they
say
haven't really unleashed this pitching chaos yet. Like, is it time? Like, are we going to start doing that now? Like, I think everything has gone wrong. And I don't know if I went over my 30 seconds, but it's been disappointing.
pitching chaos was a cute thing that was born out of necessity. It should not be a way of life. It really is a tough go. And I don't think that that is a strategy that you can really count on in order to win yourself a World Series. They did make a play for Alex Bregman in the offseason. They got outbid, whatever, by Boston. And so that went wrong. But you're right. Like, who's the dude on offense that's going to say, get on my back, let's go, follow my lead? They don't really have anybody, and I've been disappointed with the rest of their starting pitching. It just hasn't worked out for them, and I imagine that Tarek Skubal is extremely frustrated because he feels the weight of the world on his shoulders. I'm sure he doesn't mind it. He loves being the guy. I think that's part of his DNA, and he wants the ball tomorrow in Cleveland, and if he has to have it Sunday in Fenway Park to get them in the playoffs, that's going to be fine, but there's no way in the world a team should lead a division by 15 and a half games and have to move their ace up to make sure that he has to pitch on Tuesday and Sunday if need be to close this out. That's a tough go for Detroit.
It is.
We'll have more on that series coming up on Tuesday's show. Over to the National League. And it just feels like, even though San Diego hasn't officially clinched a wild card berth just yet, that there's really only one spot available. That's going to be the third and final wild card berth. Well, Ohio's other team has made a statement.
Got him looking. Swing complete. The Reds are in playoff position.
Yep. They control their own destiny. They have leapfrogged the New York Mets, even though they have the same record. Cincinnati owns the tiebreaker. They also own it over the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are a game back as well. Are you shocked by Cincinnati's run?
I don't think I'm shocked by it. I think we've all been waiting for them to be a playoff team, to be this kind of team, because they do have, what we thought was, a pretty complete roster. Especially, I always go back to their skill players, their position players, and I think I'm more bullish on them than maybe anybody else. We know they're starting pitching; they have that in spades. They probably have the most starting pitching of anyone that's still in the playoff hunt. Maybe the Dodgers and them are the two teams that have the most starters available. So much so that they've had to kick a bunch of guys to the bullpen, like a Martinez. Chase Burns is now in the bullpen as well. I think that serves them very, very well. I don't know, man. This is a team that's just kind of treaded water. They're not on a crazy run like your Guardians, and they're what, I think they're 10 and.
I'll help you.
10 and 5.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you this stat.
Since September 5th, I think it's really been more about the other teams, like the Mets collapsing around them. They just kind of treaded water. They've been doing it. I will say this about them: if they get into this, I think they are a very scary team. And I mentioned this on Talking Baseball. I was going over, just articles and stuff and post-game stuff as I was researching the app. And one thing that struck me was pretty cool was Jose Trevino talking about, he said, when we were down and kind of out of the race, he goes, we heard it time and time again from other teams that, man, we wouldn't want to play you guys in a 3-game set. Man, we wouldn't want to play you guys in a 5-game set. I feel like that's what everybody feels with these Reds, with the starting pitching, with some of the offense that they can have. And now, we might get to see it, and that's very exciting to me.
They have won 2 of their last 4 games, 1-0. There are teams that can go a whole season without winning a 1-0 game, and they've done it twice in crunch time. Some people will say it's the Terry Francona magic. I remember at the culmination of the 2013 season in Cleveland, it was his first year. The Guardians won 10 straight and some ridiculous number, like 15 of 17 down the stretch to make it into the wild card and host the 1-game wild card, which they eventually lost to the Rays. But he does spray some sort of pixie dust. And I know there's a ton of Cincinnati fans that hate the way that he manages the bullpen and can't stand the way that he gives certain guys at bats and sticks with them. This is what Terry Francona does. He falls in love with certain guys, and some people see it as a strength, others as a weakness, but he's done something to keep this team afloat. You mentioned it. On September 5th, the Reds lost a 5-4 game to the Mets. They fell 6 back from the last wild card spot, and you thought, okay, they'll reorganize and they'll revamp for 2026, and maybe they'll make some offseason trades or something. 10-5 is nothing to sneeze at. That's not treading water. That's winning 2/3 of your games, which is pretty good. And the Mets have gone 4-11. And so I guess it's time for us to get to the Mets. Because
but before that 10-5, Chris, they lost 16 of 24. So this isn't like, a 15-game run anybody can go on. It's more about the Mets, I think.
Yeah. And so let's get to them. Who had their last home series of the year, I do believe. And they ended up losing to the Washington Nationals, in part because of two crazy catches by Jacob Young. The first one where he's kicking the ball, literally, it looked like he was playing hacky sack, dude.
Oh my God, dude. It's not easy to do if you're just standing around and you throw the ball to your foot, kicking it up like that.
Yeah.
But bouncing off a wall.
Yeah. And then the one in the 9th inning in a 1-run lead where Alvarez hits a missile to left center and he goes up. This one would have tied the game. I think that one probably gets out and we've got a tie game. Instead, he preserved a 1-run win. The Mets, they keep falling and falling. Clay Holmes, what's happening here?
No doubt, tough couple losses there. And I think everybody here knows kind of where we're at and what's ahead of us. But as a player, I think there's still the opportunity to kind of make something special happen.
Okay, you can say that all you want. Do you think the players actually believe that as they hit the road for Chicago and Miami to wrap up the year? Like, hey, guys, it's right in front of us.
You have to, Chris. I mean, that's how you have to think. The Mets they're interesting. We always talk about the Mets and kind of, hey, like, what are they going to do to mess it up? I did not have that feeling this year with this team. I didn't, especially at the beginning of the year. When you're talking about, again, we questioned the starting pitching, but they came out and they were incredible to start the year. 45-24 to start the year. But then after that, it's been bad for them. They're 35-53 since. This has just been a downward trend for them. And to expect to just pick it up the last week of the season, like, again, yeah, you have to think that way. Is it likely that's going to happen? I don't know, man. Like, the state of the Mets is so strange to me. Like, offensively, like they've had a pretty damn good year. Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso have all had good years. Juan Soto, a great year. You can just say Pete Alonso's had a great year. And they've had other guys up and down the lineup that have produced well enough. But the pitching has come back to bite them big time. They're relying, which is cool. I think it's cool, but you're relying on 3 rookies at the end of the year in crunch time. And I think, eventually we'll probably think that's not cool.
No.
Like, you can't have that happen. A lot of things have gone wrong with them. You can talk about some injuries, but I don't think they addressed the starting pitching well enough at the beginning of the year. Griffin Canning going out hurt them definitely in June. That kind of coincided with the huge drop off. But the deadline, as far as what they did, the deadline, I mean, a huge swing and miss on Helsley, who he could turn it on at any time. So I don't even really know how to feel about that. Cedric Mullins has not been good for them as well. It's just, it's felt, in my mind, it's felt like a slow bleed. But it really hasn't been. Like, they've been hemorrhaging. They've just been kind of staying afloat on the beginning of their year. Like I mentioned, 35-53 since June 12th. Like, they've been a bad baseball team for a long time. And I don't think anyone noticed because of how they started and the record that they had.
Well, and the fact that no other National League team ran with it. We just talked about the Reds, but before this cute little run of 10-5, you mentioned it, they went 16-24. Lost 16 of 24 games. So they went 8-16. That's not good. Like, if any other team had stepped on it a little bit, the Mets would be out of the playoff picture and then some. The frustrating thing is that for Mets fans, it's the first time as they woke up on Monday morning that they're out of the playoff picture since April 5th. So, you sit there with a little bit of hope. You say, we've been a shitty baseball team for 3 months. Horrible. One of the worst in baseball record-wise with all these stars, and we still can't put it together. But there's still hope because you never know when you make it to October. And here they are. And if the Reds win out, the Mets are going to be sitting there holding their dicks in their hands saying, what happened to us?
Quickly on that series, man, we were both watching the Nats-Mets game on our flight home from the warehouse. and, gets into extras. Juan Soto ties it. They get out of the 10th inning without giving any runs. You have Starling Marte on second base. You have Luis Angel Acuna on second or hitting. All you got to do is bunt him over and get him in. And he can't get the bunt down.
No.
Like, did he get on base? Yes, but he pops it up. Starling Marte not able to advance to third. And I'm thinking to myself, Luis Angel Acuna, he has to be able to bunt.
Has to.
Okay? I looked it up. Before that, he had one bunt sacrifice all year. You can't do that. You have to be able to move the runner over in extra innings. They needed to do that. He played in 92 games, 189 plate appearances, and the guy did it one time prior to that. We got to practice this stuff during the year. Fundamental baseball can't go out of the game. I'm sorry.
And yesterday they go against Jake Irvin, who among qualified pitchers had the second worst ERA in the National League. They end up scoring 2 runs in that game. I know everything is magnified, and if this had happened on July 17th, we wouldn't even have talked about it. But because it happens at this time of year, and you've had this huge free fall, and now everybody in the New York media and the fan base is sitting there, well, who's to blame? Well, shit, you've still got a week left to try and get this thing right. I don't think that the Reds are going to go 6-0. I don't think so. They've got the Pirates, and by the way, Wednesday's matchup, Skeens against Hunter Green, I believe. Look out. That's going to be awesome.
0-0.
Then the Reds have to go to Milwaukee, and they haven't beaten Milwaukee in a series since 2022. I know that Milwaukee's already won the division. We'll be talking about that, but they're going to want to be sharp at the end of the year. So, Mets, you got road series at Chicago and at Miami. And if you don't play well, then people are going to sit there and say, what was worse, 2025, 2007? You don't want that anytime soon.
No.
That is a rough go. Mets fans, how you hanging in there? American League fans that are still in this, I want to know how you're doing in the comments section. Let's go. It's been a while since we've heard from you. Well, today's episode sponsored by Mando. Fall officially here, guys. Football season, yard work, maybe even some of those hunting trips. That's why you need to hear about Mando deodorant. Forget those colognes that just mask the stink. Mando blocks odor before it starts. It's 1 stick, 2 jobs. That coverage through double overtime games, that weekend project, even those extra long pre-holiday shifts, you're good. It's not magic, it's science. It doesn't just mask odor, it prevents it. 100% of study participants experience all-day odor protection. Now, Mando's starter pack, it is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, a cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice. I love the mini body wash, the deodorant wipes, and you get free shipping. And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers, you're going to get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use the code JMBaseball at shopmando.com. That's 20% off site-wide and free shipping. SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show. Tell them that we sent you. Mando's got you covered. Protect your pits. Smell great while doing it. You'll feel better, too. All right. We'll get back to more teams trying to clinch playoff berths. But we take a break in order to talk about some breaking news that happened last week. We haven't had a chance to talk about Clayton Kershaw calling it a career. It's not a huge shocker, but man, was the final scene at Dodger Stadium Friday night something to behold. He gets Rafael Devers, called strike 3, and after that, Dave Roberts says, let's give this guy the ovation. Hugging his teammates, walking out, his family with his bride, Ellen, who's getting ready to deliver their 5th child, all there in tears. He blows the kiss to the family. Big hugs. Love you. Your buddy Matthew Stafford was there to check out his old high school friend. Justin Verlander, a future Hall of Famer, was on hand. It was awesome. A great moment. Here's Kersh after the game.
You know, the guys have gone above and beyond the last few days for me, so I never want to take away from, be a distraction to the game or anything like that, because obviously winning is the most important thing for us, especially right now. So, but that was special. The whole night was just special. There's no way I could try to soak it all in tonight. Like, it's just 18 years of memories you can't just put into words in one night or feel all the feels that you can possibly feel. So, thankfully, I was a little less emotional tonight than I was yesterday. I think yesterday was really hard, but Today was more about the game, which I was thankful for, and I couldn't ask for anything more. Just a great night.
Yeah, I thought it was great. We were together last week when Kershaw made the announcement that this was going to be it. I thought his timing was sensational.
What do you mean his timing?
There are some players in recent years who have announced it at the beginning of a season and taking the trip around the country and getting the tip of the cap. And although I think that's been very nice at times, that is not who he is in the least bit.
Yeah, I mean, I was part of a few of those parades. You know, Joe Mauer getting a bunch of gifts, Miguel Cabrera getting a bunch of gifts. What Pujols did it too. Like, it was kind of a strange thing.
Yeah.
And you saw the guys at the end. They were like, "What are we like? Very nice, thank you so much, but what are we doing here, people?" And for Clayton to announce it now, to be able to get that last home start, was, I think, appropriate. I agree, and you're right about him, like, not loving all the hoopla. Like when he went out there by himself on the mound and was just like, "Come on, guys, like let's go, come on." And they stayed in the dugout. He got the big ovation. I thought that was pretty funny to see. But I don't really know him personally. Obviously, talked to him. Never got to face him in my career, but there's not a guy that says a bad thing about him in the big leagues.
Well, we're showing video. For those of you that are audio only, he and his family got to dig up the pitching rubber from Dodger Stadium after the game on Friday night. On Saturday, he actually took some BP swings, which I thought was kind of interesting, but because for a guy who doesn't pick up a bat very often, to go do that, at his age, you better be careful. You don't want to hurt those obliques. But apparently on the last swing he took, he parked it into the seats. So I think that's a nifty little memory. Yeah, sometimes those year-long celebrations of a player, although they are well-intentioned, can get stale pretty quickly because a lot of organizations start thinking, well, how can we one-up the one that just gave him something? And then we kind of lose sight of why we're doing this. So he's going to have a couple of road series at the conclusion of the year. Those fans will hopefully, hey, please welcome one last time Clayton Kershaw, and he'll have enough of that. And then he'll try and figure out what his role is going to be as he tries to go out a 3-time World Series champion. I do know Clayton a little bit. You know, I started interviewing him 15 years ago or so. And we just did a big 15-minute sit-down with him on Dugout Discussions. And we talked about the thought process. We put out a really interesting clip of it. He obviously had already made his decision. He just wasn't ready to share it at that point. And I respect him for that. The one thing he's never been able to do, I think, and he's not different than a lot of legendary players, is enjoy the ride while it's happening. I've heard Derek Jeter talk about this, that he was so squarely focused on one thing and one thing only, and that was being the best version of himself so he could help his team win, that he hasn't enjoyed it enough. And I love that he's been able to smile, that he's been able to go out with his oldest son, Charlie, and play ball several times a week on the Dodger Stadium turf, and to go out and say, you know what? It's okay for me to have a breath, to take a breath and say, this grind for 18 years has been worth it. Shit, it has been awesome, because he's not going to have that at this time next year. And you can tell him how much you do miss a lot of this, as much of a grind as it is.
That's why I bring my baseball glove when I'm calling games. I go down the field. I try to like catch balls for the guys doing infield. Like that's a part of you. If you're a ball player that, I mean, at least for me, it'll never leave me. Like I want to play ball. I want to be with the guys. No, it's great. Thinking back about all those like parades that we've had, like Mariano Rivera, you mentioned Jeter, like it was like a thing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a fad, or did we just have that many players? Like,
well, we did. Yeah, I think Chipper Jones received one too, right? Didn't Chipper get one?
I don't know, man. It was a lot. I remember being, like I said, a part of a bunch of those. We gave Mariano Rivera got from the Twins a rocking chair made out of a bunch of broken bats. And I thought that was cool. But then I started to think, and these guys were telling me this. I asked Miguel Cabrera, I'm like, where are you going to put all this stuff? He goes, I have no idea. No idea. Like, where do you put all these things? Like, you know, in your house, I don't know.
You know, here's the other thing. When I put out a clip last week when he retired, because I knew we weren't having a show. And I brought up the fact that he's got a 4.5 career playoff ERA. And I said, God, I hope that's not the first thing that comes out of people's mouths, because I think you lose. Is it part of his narrative? Absolutely. But if that's the first thing you think of when we're discussing the guy who's got the lowest career ERA, man, that I don't know what your lens is on the rest of life. If you're talking about, well, if you have a broad strokes discussion, like, would you rather have his career or Madison Bumgarner? Remember that old discussion we used to have? Like, let's stop with that. Can we?
I still think that's a very interesting discussion.
You really do?
I do. Clayton, Hall of Famer. I don't think Madison Bumgarner is a Hall of Famer.
No,
Clayton made a lot of money, way more than Madison Bumgarner, but Mad Bum made some pretty good money as well. He's got 3 rings.
And Clayton's got 2.
One out. Like, there's a lot of things. That's a weird discussion I don't want to have right now. I need to flesh out my thoughts on that more.
Okay. I just think that if that's the first shit that comes to your mind when you
you should. And you know what?
Kershaw.
I think he is going to get a start this postseason. I've been thinking about it more, Chris. If the Dodgers have to play in the 3 wild card games, all 3 of them, then there'll be an off day, I believe, and then another series starts. Will he pitch game 4? Will he pitch game 5? Will they might be able to get back to the rotation after that. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, it really is. It'll be fascinating. Really happy. Give us your favorite Kershaw moment. Could be as an opposing fan, and it could be your Matt Adams home run against him. I think what was that, 2013 maybe, in the playoffs? Speaking of playoff issues.
What was that guy's name again? Is it Big Country?
Yeah, I think it was Big Country. Yeah. There was another Big Country before him in the college hoops world. There was a guy named Big Country Bryant Reeves. Played for Oklahoma State. I think he broke a backboard at the Final Four during the practice day.
I can't during a practice session. You know this. You're an insane person, Chris. I love you for it.
I think that's what happened. Somebody can look that up and correct.
Oh, City.
Big City was Matt Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Big Country was.
Well,
Bryant
shout out
Reeves.
Big Country. You broke a backboard in a practice.
Sawyer, our intern, will look that up. I'm pretty sure that Big Country Bryant Reeves, not Brian Reeves, Bryant Reeves, I believe was his name. There you go. Today's episode, Baseball Today, is sponsored by Best Western Hotels and Resorts. Hey, we all know life's a trip, so why not make the most of it? With over 4,000 hotels worldwide, Best Western is there for every detour, destination, and unexpected twist and turn along the way. So whether you're hitting the road, traveling for work, or chasing the next big game, there's a room waiting for you. But a great stay isn't just about rest. It's about what comes next. Great stay doesn't just help you recharge. It sets the tone for the early wake up, the late night arrival, the last minute change of plans. You know what? Best Western gets it. Traveling isn't one size fits all. It's for the planners and the procrastinators, the loyalty point collectors, and the I just booked it crowd. So whether you're flying solo, with your friends, or the entire roster, Best Western has got you covered. Pack your bag, cue up the playlist, hit the road. Life's a trip. Make the most of it at bestwestern.com. And I believe the boys are taking Talking Baseball on the road, courtesy of Best Western this week, to the Windy City. I think Jolly and Jake, Matty Mass is going out there, Tay-Tay, I think a few other members of our crew maybe. Bryant Reeves shattered a backboard during practice April 1st at the Final Four for Okie State.
Can that happen anymore? Do they have like shatterproof backboards now?
Yeah, they've tried it, but there's been a handful. Man.
Shaq did it.
Yeah, Shaq definitely did it. The best one ever in a game. Go look it up on YouTube. Guy named Jerome Lane, Lane. It's where Bill Raftery came in. He was calling the game, still calling games at like 83 years old and crushing it. And he goes, "Send it in, Jerome." He played for Pitt, and then he played in the NBA. He was like a 6'5" guy, powerful body. Boom! Throws it down. Backboard shatters. It is great, great video. Really amazing. Sorry about that. My sports brain works different than most people.
It really does, man.
All right. By the way, congrats to the Dodgers, who have yet to clinch the division crown, but they have made 13 straight playoff appearances. Meanwhile, 2 other teams, more champagne dreams. We'll be talking more about the Blue Jays if they clinch the AL East a little bit later, but they are postseason bound. They ended up beating Kansas City over the weekend, and yeah, let's spray that. Let's have fun. But they're trying to get where the Milwaukee Brewers are getting. They just clinched their third straight NL Central title.
Like I've always said, it's about the who that's in the room. And these are the right guys. They know how to play. They know how to win. They know how to bounce back. That's what's special.
Pat Murphy sounded a little choked up there, didn't he?
I think he always has that in him. He gives that outward, like, not tough guy. I don't want to call him a tough guy, but, that's kind of like the abrasive personalities on the surface level. But I think he's emotional right below the surface.
Yeah. So is this the biggest surprise? We talked about Cleveland and Cincinnati a little bit earlier, trying to get in there. But when you started at the beginning of the season, looking at all the rosters and what lied ahead, is this the most shocking storyline in order, like, trying to make a deep playoff run?
I don't think so, because I have the Brewers. I hold them highly regarded as one of the better franchises in baseball right now. So this is definitely not the most shocking to me, at least. I would say that your Guardians are a pretty big shock.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, if you want to throw the Diamondbacks in the mix, look at what they've done since August. I believe they're like 9 games over 500 since they traded away a bunch of people on their roster. But they're not in the playoffs just yet, so I can't go there. I think, to me, it's the Blue Jays. I know you've been on them, but I just didn't see. I saw an okay roster. I saw a roster that was fine, and but you talk about who I had them probably in last place in the AL East. I don't remember exactly what I said, if it was going to be them or the Orioles, but I had Tampa and Boston. I had Boston win the division, Tampa making the playoffs. I had the Yankees right out, but obviously they had a nice roster. But for the Blue Jays, I think they had to have so much go right, and they've had it go right. I mean, a huge, crazy resurgent year from George Springer. He's got a 943 OPS, Chris. A 943 OPS in his age 35 seasons. You got to love that.
Yep.
You've had a bunch of guys like throughout the year completely step up. Guys like Barger and Lucas, who in the first half were great. They've been struggling as of late, but they buoyed the team in the first half. They've been doing a great job. Dalton Varsho, go look at his power numbers. He's been exceptional. Tyler Heineman carried them for a little bit at the beginning of the year. Like, so much has gone right for them. I think for them to clinch I think they're going to win the division. That hasn't clinched it yet, but for them to clinch a playoff spot this early, to me, I didn't see it. So they're my biggest surprise of the year.
Now, I'm going to stick with Milwaukee. I just did not see it at all coming. They've lost so much talent over the years, and Pacoda at the beginning of the year had them pegged for, I believe, 80 wins, and that's what I would have had them at. I thought that the Cubs were going to run away with this division. I think you had the Cubs as well winning the division.
Yeah.
And with the depth of the National League going into the year, nobody thought that Atlanta would fall flat on its face. We knew the Phillies were going to be good. We thought the Mets were going to be right in it. We thought that San Diego was going to be in it, the Dodgers, and then we thought probably the Diamondbacks, based on what their roster looked like at the beginning of the year, were going to be in this thing. So I had them as probably the 8th best team, right in the middle of the pack of the National League. So what they've done this year, where they have the ability to perhaps be the 1 seed once it's all said and done, is shocking. And we mention this every time we talk about the Milwaukee Brewers, that I think no organization knows who they are better than Milwaukee. But it's one thing to know what you are, and then to have those players who you are trying to thread a needle with payroll-wise, have them come out and do this thing. Quinn Priester, Chet Patrick. I mean, come on. There's no way at the beginning of the year you'd be like, yeah, they're going to be a big part of what we're doing in our rotation. That the year you trade Devin Williams, that your bullpen is going to be nails. You didn't think that was going to be possible. Collier making a trade for Vaughn. Come on. There's no way. There's zero way that the organization went in the year and said, yeah, we're going to nail all of this stuff. And it has happened, and I do nothing but applaud you guys.
I'll push back on the pitching a little bit right there, because we saw that happen with Hader. They traded away Hader, and that was not a problem. They traded away Williams, not a problem. I mean, they have guys step up. Seemingly, they do have that kind of magic wand. And even the starting pitching, I know Woodruff, which is a huge story, might be out for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But they had guys, they had Freddie, they had Woodruff. They were really into Mizorowski. Now we didn't see him till later in the year, but I think they had a good idea of what they were going to be pitching wise. I think offensively, Christian Yelich having an awesome resurgent year has been great for them. And then if you heard Pat Murphy talk at all about Sal Frelick, I think you're right. They understand who they are as an organization, but they also they understood quicker than anybody in baseball the fact that defense and base running was going to play a huge part in the new game that we've made with these rules. So I think the world of them as an organization.
Listen to some of their numbers very quickly. Obviously, remember, they started the year at Yankee Stadium, and we were like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
They're horrible. They're going to give up 12 runs a game.
Well, that was a torpedo bat series,
right.
And everyone was like, oh, my God, the Yankees are cheating.
The Brewers were 25-28 on May 24th. Then they had win streaks of 8, 11, and a franchise record 14 games during a 69-game stretch in which they went 53-16. 53-16. That's hard to do, man. I'm excited for them because I want to see, obviously, we talk about the next step, and that means that you've arrived. Like, it's not good enough to just have these great regular seasons. Let's go take that next step. Let's go win a divisional round series. Let's get back to the NLCS for the first time since 2018 and see if the magic continues.
But what's the next step? What does that even mean?
It means they got to win a freaking series. They haven't won a series since 2018.
No, I know, but that's just winning games. Like, the next step is what an organization, like, what can they go out and get this offseason?
No, nothing.
That would make you be like, this is going to be a team that's going to rock and roll.
Nothing, because and it's going to depend who they play in that first round, but they could be underdogs. And they could be massive underdogs depending on who they play. Yep. We'll see. I'm excited for them, though. I really am. I can't wait. Brewers fans, good for you. All right, also good for us. Thanks to Mountain Dew for sponsoring this episode. Bold flavors, refreshing citrus kick. Mountain Dew's perfect for any occasion. I know we're in fall, but the weather's still nice in a lot of the country, so you still can squeeze in some beach days on the weekend or a boat day or go play some golf or just go to the ballpark this last week or into the playoffs. Anything in between. Listen, we were at the warehouse last week. My buddy Dalton Feely, who's going to join me on this show later this week. Every time I turned around, hey, Rose, here you go. Here's some Mountain Dew. Do your thing. Have you? I'm like, wow, okay, I got you. I hear you. So the next time you are chilling at the beach, hanging out with friends, going on the water, going on the golf course, going to host a blitzball tournament, it doesn't matter. The perfect pairing is that with a refreshing citrus kick of Mountain Dew. So if that's what you're looking for, go grab yourself a Mountain Dew and enjoy your day. I want to get back to something that was weird that happened on Friday night with Nick Castellanos. He's been relegated to a platoon player. He has just massively struggled, and so he's coming off the bench a lot. He's getting some starts against left-handed pitching, and that's pretty much what we're seeing out of the $100 million man. He did reach a milestone on Friday, which was awesome for him. 250th home run of his career. That's a big number, man. That's really cool. After the game, the media surrounded his locker room and had a bizarre 5-minute chat with him. Here's a little excerpt.
How disappointed are you you're not playing every day?
That's a controversial question, so I'm going to skip that.
Do you understand why you haven't been playing as much as you normally would?
I don't really talk to Rob all that often, so that's just, I play whenever he tells me to play, and then I sit whenever he tells me to sit.
Sounds like a trained dog right there. For the record, Rob Thompson did have a sit-down meeting apparently after that with Nick Castellanos. Whether they cleared the air or not, who knows? That's between them. There were a lot of Philly fans that were up in arms with the line of questioning. And we obviously don't have time to run the entire 4 minutes and 45 seconds of the interview. You can go watch it if you want for yourself. But what was your overall take on the tone of this?
I don't know why the line of questioning is being questioned. I feel like if you give reporters something like that, they're going to keep going because it is a very interesting story. Like we're talking about it right now. And I think knowing Nick Castellanos, playing against him a bunch, having listened to your interviews with him, he's a fascinating guy, and he doesn't just say things without thinking it over. I think he's very thoughtful in his responses for the most part. Here, I don't know if this was calculated or not. This one kind of felt to me like it was like he said something and then just kind of got caught in a weird situation. This is not something that I don't think at this time wants to be a story. Like him and his manager, as they're getting ready for the playoffs, just kind of turned into that. So maybe that's where Philly fans have a problem with the line of questioning. But again, I think this is just one that just got away from Nick for a little bit. I think this is like the one instance where maybe he didn't think through his words enough, because if he wanted to have this conversation with Rob, surely now is not the time to do it. You got 6 games left going into the playoffs. If you wanted to change the course of your playing time and ask why you're not going, that should have happened 3 weeks ago. So in my mind, that's what happened. Like he just said something and kind of got caught with this line of questioning. Because like I said, usually he's very, very thoughtful about his answers. And you know what? Stuff like this isn't like a crazy situation. Like I'm sure as soon as they talked about it, it's fine. It's done. Like this happens all the time. There are times you're going to go through a month or something and you're not going to talk to the manager. He's got a lot of stuff going on. They're in the playoff crunch here, and there's 26, 28 guys on the roster now that you're kind of like talking through with. So like, that's not like weird that he hasn't had a ton of communication with him necessarily, but yeah, I don't really know what to think. At the end of the day, I think it is a non-story. It's just kind of shocking to hear that come out of the clubhouse at this time.
So there was also the on-the-field post-game interview he did with the guys who were in the booth, and the regulars, Tom McCarthy and John Kruk, were not there. So it's Scott Fransky, I believe is how you say Scott's last name. I've met him a couple times, so that was my bad if I mispronounced it. And Ruben Amaro, who were doing the line of questioning, and instead of it really being more of a celebration of his 250th home run, which is a remarkable achievement, it got kind of to the whole, hey, how tough has the platoon thing been? And that's a little weird for a network which is really supposed to have a partnership with the Phillies. As for the rest of the media reporters, I just have to let people know who aren't familiar with this. Those are reporters who they don't work for the Phillies. So they're not there to make things easier or tougher. Now, you could say, well, they're there to get click and they're there to, start controversies. Well, that's fine if you believe that, but they are there to ask the pertinent questions. So the first question out of their mouth was not, hey, man, 250th homer is pretty cool. What? And then however you went. They just went right into the hard stuff. And a lot of the media reporters, from what I'm reading, have watched Castellanos struggle with this transition to a new role. They said they've seen him with a towel over his head, lying down on the couch in the middle of the clubhouse, which is fine. And then sometimes he'll go out and take BP, and then sometimes he won't do much. And so they're asking him about that transition, which I think is totally fair. I have interviewed Nick a bunch. He is one of the most interesting guys I've ever had the pleasure of talking to one-on-one, because he will give you a 1 or 2 word answer if you're not prepared. And it makes it look like he is totally being a dick when I don't think that is his intention at all. But the minute you ask the right question the right way, and sometimes I haven't done that, and sometimes I have, he will open up and give you incredibly thoughtful answers that most athletes will not take you to. The part with Thompson got really interesting here, because I am shocked that they did not sit down at the beginning of this and totally hash it out. If I had been the manager, and I'm not so sure that Rob Thompson didn't do this, I would have sat him down and said, Nick, this is what we're doing. It's why we're doing it. And I don't need you to be okay with it, but I need you to understand where I'm coming from. I mean, I would expect any boss, whether you're an athlete in the athletic world or somewhere else, to sit down if you're making the change for somebody who has never gone through this before, and to have a free-flowing dialogue. And it sounds like there's 2 totally different thought patterns on how this went down.
Do you think this comes from, I guess it was June? They had like a scuffle, right? They had like Castellanos said something in the dugout and Thompson benched him.
I think that happened.
He was, okay. Hold on. So, okay, hold on. I have it here. In June, he had a 236 game starting streak. Has a weird play. He gets lifted for a defensive replacement in the ninth.
Yep.
Sits the next day, ends that streak. And now, obviously, they have to talk. Do you think, knowing Castellanos, that's probably the start of this whole thing? Like, hey, man, I feel pretty slighted right now. I'm a veteran, and you're sitting me? Like, you could have just talked to me, and we could have went back out there, but you're going to sit me?
Well, we don't know that he
that
didn't.
Ends.
We don't know that he didn't talk to him. We don't know that unless it says that he didn't talk to him.
No, I didn't say they didn't talk to him. I think they did talk, but I think that starts this friction between them. And again, I'm kind of speaking out of pocket here, and maybe I shouldn't do that, but I feel like Castellanos is a guy who, if like you cross him, like it could be hard to kind of get back into his good graces.
Possible. It's possible. I'm curious at
least there's context. This isn't out of nowhere.
Yeah. I do want people to try and watch that clip, and maybe we'll put a link to the entire 440 or however long it was down below. But you should watch it and give us your thoughts. Like, for people to, and his family members got involved in it a little bit on social media, and some people were like, well, this is a totally wrong line of questioning. Once again, you can ask an athlete whatever you want, and the athlete can say, like we heard Nick say, that's a controversial question. I don't want to answer it right now. That's a perfectly reasonable answer. And then people will say, well, why do they keep asking it another way? They're trying to get him in trouble. I always have a rule that you have to ask a follow-up question, and then if you see they're not budging, then you move on. That's my personal rule. Doesn't mean it's right, but that's how I would go about it. Because follow-up questions in this business are important, in my opinion.
That's definitely when this started. I'm putting 2 and 2 together here, people.
You think it is?
Yeah. I'm that. The reason I say that, and maybe I'm just projecting, I am that way as well.
Yeah.
If you cross me, and I feel like I kind of got disrespected a little bit,
a lot of people are.
Good luck.
Yeah, I don't think that that's different for a lot of people. There was one line of questioning where somebody said, well, what do you think is going to happen, like basically in the off season? Do you want to be here next year? And he was like, wait a second, we're trying to win a championship. I'm doing everything I can to help us win a World Series. I don't understand why we'd talk about that. And that's a great response. I think it's a great response. For the record, I think he's interesting, and I like interesting people.
I like him. I mean, I've known him for a long time.
Yeah, you guys came up in the division together, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like him. And I understand why Philly fans are frustrated with him, too.
Difficult.
You like Topper?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Leave a comment on that one. I really want to hear from Philly fans on this, where they sit in the whole thing. Because he's been a punching bag for them, too, Castellanos. All right. I know you got a trip coming up. I'm excited for you. Jolly's going to be joining us. Dalton Feely's going to be joining us. And then Plouffe will be playoff rested, as we like to say. So let's get it going. A very short slate on the schedule on Monday, and then we are going full bore the rest of the way, and we cannot wait. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, our awesome intern, Sawyer, that is the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. We will see you Tuesday on Baseball Today, presented to you by Mountain Dew.